So we obviously got the gameplay reveal for Star Wars Outlaws just last week at the Ubisoft showcase, and it was very, very exciting. There were a lot of awesome gameplay mechanics in that actual gameplay reveal, but the thing I wanted to talk about today is actually all the planets that we do see in the gameplay, as well as the actual reveal trailer too, because there are definitely a lot of awesome locations that we actually know of already from previous bits of content scattered throughout Star Wars. So without wasting any time, we're going to jump right into it. If you are new to the channel and you are interested in Star Wars Outlaws, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications. There is plenty more content on the way, but with that being said, let's get stuck right into it. Now, the first planet that we see, and this is essentially like the main planet that is seen throughout the gameplay, is called Toshara. Now, this is a created planet for this game, so prior to this, it was not a canon planet within Star Wars. Similar to, for example, Kobo in Jedi Survivor, this has been made purely for the game. Now, once again, similar to Kobo as well, it seems like this is going to be the hub world of this game. So, although there are going to be plenty of other planets to go to, it seems like this is kind of going to be like the main one, like the central hub where we continue to come back to it time and time again. It may be where, for example, Kay actually lives, or it may just be a very important location within the game, but this will be pretty much the main planet, and so we're definitely going to be spending a hell of a lot of time here. Now, funnily enough, even once again, similar to Kobo, it actually looks fairly similar as well. I don't know if that is purely coincidence or if they actually just like took inspiration from Kobo in that game. And even similar to how Kobo has Rambler's Reach, there is actually a location that we see here called Jaunter's Hope that is kind of just like a small town that can be found on the planet. Now, that is very exciting on its own, the fact that there are going to be actual towns to go to, but it's not just going to be one. They actually confirmed in the little like presentation that happened before the gameplay that there is actually another city on this planet. So whether there are heaps of different towns or even if it's just literally Jaunter's Hope and then the other one that they mentioned, that is still very exciting, the fact that there are actually multiple locations to go to, and it's not just like one central town and we just keep going back to the exact same place. If there's 5 or 6 different planets and all of them have 2 to 3 little towns, that is going to be very, very exciting. Now, the next planet that we see that I will just say is not necessarily confirmed as far as I know in terms of like written confirmation from Ubisoft, but this is very clearly Kojimi, which if you guys have watched The Rise of Skywalker, you will know this is the planet that they go to and actually meet Babu Frick, and it's where we meet Zori Bliss as well. Now, this one makes perfect sense to be in the game because as we see in that scene, it is confirmed that Poe and both Zori, they were actually spice runners back in the day, kind of before the sequel trilogy started, and obviously spice running is a criminal activity, which is pretty much what this game is going to be based on. So Kojimi makes absolute perfect sense to be in the game. It's also a really cool looking planet, I think, and I'm very excited to have it in there. It looks honestly identical from what we see in The Rise of Skywalker, so as soon as I saw this in the gameplay, I just knew that it was Kojimi, and it's pretty much what everyone else is saying as well. And who knows, we may even actually run into some characters that we know, whether it is Zori Bliss and her mother, for example. We know that Zori's actual mother was pretty much in charge of that whole spice running operation, and obviously depending on age and stuff like that, we may see like a young Poe and Zori. I'm not too sure it'll go that far, but it's exciting to think of it nonetheless. And to be honest, I would love to see Babu Frick on this planet as well. That would be an awesome little addition, but we do actually see in Mando that he's not there the whole time, so obviously take all of that with a grain of salt. But the fact that we are getting planets that are known from previous bits of content, that is definitely exciting to think of some of the cameos that we could actually get on some of these planets. Now, the next planet that we actually get to see, and this is the one that I'm not 100% sure if it's actually going to be this planet or not, because it looks very, very similar, but we only see it for a split second. This one is Kantobite, or at least the city is called Kantobite, and obviously the planet is called Cantonica, that we see in The Last Jedi. Now, we only see a snippet, like I said, so I can't confirm this one, but it all looks absolutely identical to what we see of Kantobite and Cantonica, and so just take that one with a grain of salt. Once again, it's not confirmed, but I would be absolutely shocked if this isn't Cantonica. The fact that obviously that is also like a gambling type of planet, or at least the city of Kantobite is known for its like gambling, and there's a lot of rich people there. That is prime for like these criminal syndicates to be in that location. So once again, take it with a grain of salt, but I would honestly bet the house on the fact that this is going to be Cantonica. Now, the next planet that we see is actually Akiva, and this is the planet that is shown at the end where they actually jump to hyperspace. We don't actually get to see on the planet, but we get to kind of be in orbit of the planet. And this one is actually introduced in the Aftermath novel trilogy, which takes place between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. It's a really interesting book series that I think came out just before The Force Awakens came out, or it may have been just after. I'm not 100% sure, but I knew the name of Akiva somewhere, and when I looked it up, I could tell straight away that that was where I had seen it. So the interesting part about Akiva is that during this time frame, as in when this game actually takes place, this planet would be under absolute like heavy Imperial control. At the point of the actual novels, I believe there was like fighting taking place on the planet. I can't really remember as I read those novels so long ago now, but I know that prior to the actual battles taking place there between the Empire and the Rebels, it was under very heavy Imperial control. So this might be less of like a criminal system and more of like a planet that we have to be really careful on, because there's a lot of Imperials there and it's pretty much just purely under Imperial control, which is going to be very interesting for the story side of things as well. It feels like most of the other planets are going to be like very criminal heavy planets, but as for this one, it might be more of like, if you mess up, you're going to be getting chased by the Empire rather than the different syndicates. So I thought that one was very interesting. It's going to be cool to get this in another medium, because as far as I know, we've only actually gotten this in the novels so far, so it's going to be exciting to actually see it on screen for the first time. Now, last but definitely not least, it looks confirmed. I'm not going to say confirmed in terms of actual written confirmation, just like I said for Kojimi as well, but it's all but confirmed that this right here is actually going to be Tatooine. Now, I know a lot of people are getting bored of Tatooine, and I do understand that it's in pretty much everything to do with Star Wars. A lot of people are getting sick of the planets that are not only just sand planets, but the fact that it is half the time literally just Tatooine every single time. I know a lot of people are getting very bored of that. For me personally, I don't think I'll ever get bored of Tatooine. For me, it is like almost like I said with Toshara being the hub planet of this game. Tatooine for me is like the hub planet of Star Wars. It's where the majority of the actual story, in terms of the like pivotal important moments, they kind of all take place there. Well, not all of them, but there's just a lot of stuff that does sort of centralize itself around Tatooine. So for me, I don't think I'll ever get bored of it, but I do see why people are kind of getting a little bit sick of it. So I think this one will be met with some very varying opinions. For me, it makes absolute sense within the story. Like I said before, it is very well known as like a bad place to be. Essentially, there's a lot of crime that goes on within Tatooine, and there's obviously, for example, the huts that we actually see. One of the huts in the trailer, I'm going to assume this is Jabba, because he's actually escorting Han Solo in Carbonite. So I'm going to assume that is Jabba, but even if it's not, it's obviously a hut, and they are, if anything, one of the biggest crime syndicates that there are. And so for me, this planet makes absolute sense to be in the game. If it was just thrown in there for the sake of it, then yeah, I can kind of see what everyone is getting at with why do they keep putting it in there. But for me, it makes absolute perfect sense. So Tatooine seems to be the final confirmed planet. Like I said, Kojimi, Tatooine, and then obviously Kantobite as well. They aren't actually confirmed in terms of like, we can't see it written anywhere in the game. It's not written by Ubisoft anywhere on the website or anything like that. But I think both Kojimi and Tatooine, they are very clearly going to be those planets. And then Kantobite is one that is a little bit more up in the air just because we only see it for a split second, but it looks absolutely identical. So take it all with a grain of salt, but for me, I would pretty much confidently say all of these are essentially confirmed. Now, whether these are the only planets we get or not, I'm not too sure. I dare say there'll probably be more. I'd imagine there'll be other locations that we get to go to as well. We do see Kay actually running around on what looks to be a Imperial Star Destroyer, and so even if there's not necessarily a bunch of other planets, but there might be just other locations too, I think there's going to be plenty of stuff for us to do within Star Wars Outlaws. I'm keen to hear what you guys think though of the planet choices so far, whether you think firstly the ones that I've mentioned are actually what they're going to be, and then if they are, whether you guys think they're all good choices or not for the game. It's obviously pretty hard to tell without actually playing the game yet, but for me personally, they all actually seem like they fit the actual like premise of the game really well. So I'm keen to hear what you guys think. Be sure to leave your thoughts down below in the comments. But with that being said, thank you all very much for watching. You guys have a great day, and may the force be with you always.